people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
That's why they raided his house. Now,
I love electric school buses.
People trying to set a building on fire wind up setting themselves on fire.
Oh my gosh, the saga of the Joe Biden missing classified documents continue. Apparently, after we got off the show yesterday, they found him in his garage, but it's locked next to his Corvette. Also, Whoopi Goldberg in The View is the leading cause of misinformation, according to a New York Post opinion piece. Some people tried to set a building on fire, ended up setting themselves on fire, and the latest Kamala-ism from our beloved vice president. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
here we go.
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. On today, it is Friday the 13th of January. Eerie day, mysterious. Ooh. But a lot going on. Yesterday, we talked about there being a second batch of classified documents found in possession of Joe Biden from the time when he was vice president. Turns out they were in his garage. Not an office, not anything of substance. It was actually in his garage next to his Corvette. Now, he got into a sparring match with Peter Doocy, which we'll get to in just a second, but I got to get to this clip first because I think the arc of the story throughout the day is both fascinating and hilarious, as it almost always is. I want to bring our attention first to the best show on TV, The View. And by the best show, I mean, I can't believe anybody watches The View. However, The View yesterday found out right before they started taping their show that a second batch of documents was found. Then Whoopi Goldberg took to the airwaves to scold Lindsey Graham, senator from, I believe, South Carolina, talking about, well, because there's all these documents out there, the attorney general should file a special counsel because they did it to Donald Trump when he had documents. They might as well do it to Biden when he has documents. Listen to how Whoopi classifies the difference between all of this with some pretty major flaws. And then we'll get into what happened throughout the rest of the day, which made her look not super awesome. Watch this clip and we will discuss the arc of yesterday's story on the other side. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you so much if you could click the little like button down here, down in this little corner right here, especially if you're watching on Facebook, and the little share button. Would really appreciate you doing so. And let us know in the comment section what you think. Are we going to have an even-handed, fair investigation of this? Joe Biden keeping documents? Or what? I don't know. What do you think in the comment section? Anyways, without further ado, watch this Whoopi Goldberg from TV's The View. Check it out.
So right before the show, it was reported that a second batch of classified documents from when Biden was vice president was discovered in his Wilmington, Delaware residence. Now, the White House says it's cooperating with the National Archives and the DOJ as it conducts its review. But here's what Lindsey Graham says. He wants to see Merrick Garland do next. What?
Garland, if you're listening, if you thought it was necessary, Attorney General, to appoint a special counsel regarding President Trump, then you need to do the exact same thing regarding President Biden when it comes to handling classified information.
Lindsey, you're comparing apples to oranges. Let's find out what they discover first and then do whatever needs to be done. Because if you recall, the former you-know-who was asked, can you give us the pieces of information that we need? He said, okay, and then didn't do it. They said, well, where's the stuff? He said, I don't have it. We gave you everything we had. Yeah. Then they said, listen, we know you got more stuff. Give it to us. We're going to send a subpoena for you. He said, on a subpoena.
Right. That's right.
Okay? That's why they raided his house. Now, if we all know, you're right. This needs to be investigated. But it is not the same. I'm sorry.
But it is.
Okay, so a couple things to point out that I think are interesting. So just to summarize really quick, Whoopi Goldberg says, well, Lindsey Graham, who's calling for a special counsel because they did it to Donald Trump, they might as well do it to Joe Biden. in being consistent, yes, clearly that is how you maintain consistency throughout this entire process. Yet you say, it's not the same thing. Correct, it isn't the same thing, but there is a lot of similarities between one and the other. Both are classified documents. Now, I am leaving room to say I don't really know what's going on. Nobody knows what the documents are in really either case here. But there is a special counsel investigating Donald Trump, and it would seem appropriate that there should be a special counsel investigating Joe Biden as well for very similar infractions of the legal system, but not according to Whoopi Goldberg. But then she says something that's kind of fascinating to me in terms of how this stuff gets processed. So she makes the case that, well, Donald Trump is different because the DOJ / the National Archives knew that he had taken documents from wherever, okay? They had kept track of all the documents and they knew, okay, we don't have these in our possession. Where are they? Oh, Trump must have them. Here's the problem. How come, and this is just a question here, how come the National Archives and the DOJ and the FBI knew that Trump had the documents at his house, but didn't know that Joe Biden had documents at his office and now turns out to be house? How come it was a very, very short time span between when Trump left office and they knew that these documents were missing, and it took 10 years since Joe Biden was vice president for anybody to realize, oh, shoot, these are missing? Is that a weird question to ask? I don't really think so. And that's what also makes this a little bit sticky, is in the fact that, okay, they knew that Trump had them. Why didn't they know Joe Biden had them? Why did he get away with it until he fessed up? Anyways, almost immediately after The View did its taping and Whoopi Goldberg said, no, this is not the same thing. This does not need a special counsel. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, came out and announced a special counsel. This is a very short clip, but watch this.
I strongly believe that the normal processes of this department can handle all investigations with integrity. But under the regulations, the extraordinary circumstances here require the appointment of a special counsel for this matter.
That's it. I just think it's funny, the juxtaposition. Look, I very clearly and obviously state on this show that I'm never sure about anything. I was in like, yeah, well, let's wait for results. And Whoopi going there saying, it's not the same thing. We don't need a special counsel. And then literally minutes later, Merrick Garland comes out saying, we are appointing a special counsel. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. But the hilarity continued yesterday when Joe Biden, I don't know if this was like some event that he was at. I don't really know what he was doing or if he was just addressing the media. But he came out on a stage, which is never good for the president. He always tends to screw things up, and did so in this instance too. He's on a stage here, and Peter Doocy, so yesterday morning, late yesterday to Wednesday evening, early Thursday morning, it came out that there was a second batch of documents found. Whether or not somebody inside the White House or the Democrat DNC team leaked that information remains to be seen. Regardless, they found a second batch. We didn't know where the batch was, at least when we came on this show. But after this show, it was revealed that the second batch of documents, classified documents, was sitting in his garage next to his Corvette. That's where I'll leave it, and hilarity ensues. Watch this exchange between Peter Doocy and Joe Biden. Oh, by the way, again, quick reminder, if you haven't already, would appreciate the little clicking the little like button that's down here and the little share button, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Really, really does help us out, and we appreciate you doing that. Keeps the show rolling each and every day. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that is of great help to myself and the team over here. So anyways, let us know in the comment section, too, what you think about this, because I think this is freaking hilarious. Check this out.
Mr. President,
Okay.
classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Oh. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
So
but anyway,
it was in a locked garage.
Yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously. I also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review. As part of that process, my lawyers reviewed other places where documents from my time as vice president were stored, and they finished the review last night. They discovered a small number of documents of classified markings in storage areas and file cabinets in my home and my personal library. This was done in the case of the Biden Penn. This was done in the case of the Biden Penn Center. The Department of Justice was immediately, as was done, the Department of Justice was immediately notified, and the lawyers arranged for the Department of Justice to take possession of the document. So we're going to see all this unfold. I'm confident. Thank you very much.
Oh, jeez. What a freaking circus. Somebody in the comment section said that to Marcel says, Biden administration is a circus. A lot of people saying, a lot of people commenting need to be impeached. If that's your opinion, let me know in the comment section, because we can have an impeachment now. Republicans have the House of Representatives and can impeach the president. Unlikely the Senate will convict and remove, but nevertheless, they have the ability to do that. But yeah, just a circus of unfolding events. Now, something to to keep in mind here. Ryan says, Garland, shut your lying ass up. There is some speculation too of the not validity, but the thoroughness of this new FBI probe. I believe it was Kash Patel was on Steve Bannon's War Room show on Real American Voice. Shout out, Raph. Talking about the problems with the guy in charge of the special counsel appointed by Merrick Garland yesterday, which it gets a little bit into the weeds, but just FYI, that's somewhat of a concern in some conservative circles, and if anything comes of that, we'll bring it to you. But the bottom line here is Joe Biden is in a world of hurt at the moment, considering the hypocrisy that he's laid upon the American people yet again. So yeah, that's really all there is to that. I'm curious to see if there's any people. Oh, this is interesting. Dr. Wolfstar, not sure who you are, says the Trump administration was worse. Okay, if you'd like to provide any sort of argument outside of just making a declarative statement, that would be great. But yeah, the big thing that I think I have, and I think we talked about this yesterday, is what's actually going on here. Is there somebody tied in with the DNC, or at least even on their own, deciding, Joe Biden is not fit to run for president again? Because everybody in the Beltway and the DC gossip circle is saying that Joe Biden is actually planning on running in 2024, which seems insane. But if he decides that, that's what he decides. And so I could see somebody, not necessarily proof of a concerted attempt to push him out, but I could see somebody kind of being a rogue actor and leaking this stuff to the press so that maybe derails him just a little bit. So there's that. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Joe Biden stepping down, because that would mean I don't want Joe Biden to be the president, but at the same time, if he steps down before the end of his term, that would mean we would get this lady, Kamala Harris. Remember Kamala Harris? She's the vice president of the United States of America. Has been widely missing from the media and the news for the last 6 months. Kamala Harris used to be all over the place. And then what I think happened, and probably correctly, is her team and the president's team and all of the DNC everywhere said, oh my gosh, this woman is terrible for us. She's not very smart. She does not quite understand the complexity of issues, nor how to explain complex issues. Therefore, let's not put her in front of cameras as often as we can. Now, which is what they were doing. They're putting her in front of a camera a lot. But she's been widely missing from the public view for a very, very long time. Yesterday, though, she made an appearance and dropped some knowledge on people. This is my favorite thing about Kamala Harris. I will explain what it is after this video clip, but I love that she does this because then I get to make fun of it. Watch what Kamala Harris does talking about the Caribbean and then explaining the Caribbean as if all of us watching are 4-year-olds. Check it out, and we'll discuss on the other side.
I convened, and I've convened now at least 3 times, a group that has their acronym CARICOM. It is the Caribbean nations, island nations. In the Western Hemisphere, that is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors.
Okay. I don't know. There's so many different comments running through my head of like, do you make fun of this? What do you point out here? Remember when she was on, I believe it was Charlemagne the God's show. This is back in March. And I remember because I knew where I was when I was listening to this. She was talking about Ukraine is a country in Europe and Russia is a bigger country and Russia is attacking Ukraine. Again, laying it out for us as if we were 4-year-olds entering preschool. This is my favorite thing about these sorts of things. I want you to watch this one more time. This is just the very end of it, where she's talking about the Caribbean and we're in the Western Hemisphere, they're in the Western Hemisphere. This is my favorite part about all of this. It's the head bob. It's I just dropped some truth on you. We are in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah? Huh? Yeah? Huh? You like that? You like that, everybody? You like that? We're in the Western Hemisphere. Watch this again so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about and why this is such a fun thing to make fun of. Check it out.
In the Western Hemisphere, that is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors.
I just love it. They are our neighbors. Yeah? Huh? Huh? You ready? Were you ready for that truth bomb right now from Kamala Harris? We are in the Western Hemisphere. What? She continues on in this little spiel to go on and talk about her affection for school buses, which is a weird thing. She's talking about electric school buses. I'm so excited for electric school buses, which, by the way, are years, if not decades, away from actually being a reality, as the battery power and the power generation and all of the things is very, very difficult and not as easy as politicians make it seem. Kamala Harris is not going to usher in electric school buses, yet it sounds like she thinks she is. So anyways, watch this and we'll discuss on the other side.
But among the many things, I'm excited about electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I just love them for so many reasons. Maybe because I went to school on a school bus. Hey, raise your hand if you went to school on a school bus, right?
I love it. I love the attempt at humor. It's very funny. You know what I also like too is reading some of the comments here that are detractors, which is fine. I appreciate you watching. Whoever Dr. Wolfstar is on YouTube who's watching, I appreciate you watching. He says that, or they could be a they or zer, them, zim. This isn't a good faith argument. It's just childish insults. Correct. It is. Because there's no need to make a good faith argument against a dumb argument. Instead, you should insult the body language of a person who thinks they're making a good argument and not actually doing so. So, I don't know. I appreciate those of you who don't agree and still watch. I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking in, whoever you are. They, them, Zer, Dr. Wolf. But yeah, just the reason they're hiding her, and somebody said in the comment section, is because she is bad at doing what she's supposed to do, which is communicate to the American people, and says things that aren't jokes and laughs hysterically at them because she thinks, I don't know, it makes her more likable. So there is that. There's this big article that I wanted to get to talking about The View and misinformation, but I don't know if I really want. Yeah, you know what? We'll do it. We're doing it live. Making the decision on the fly here. There's no video to play for this. I'm not going to replay this video, but I thought this was kind of interesting, and I won't spend a ton of time on it. That was a hard transition, by the way. Yeah, we were talking about Kamala. We're going back to The View because I didn't bring this up the first time we were talking The View because we were talking these waves of fun stuff in how everything transpired yesterday. This is an opinion piece from the New York Post by Kelly Jane Torrance, entitled "The View is the biggest source of misinformation in America." Barbara Walters died last week at 93, but the legendary journalist's legacy lives on. The View, the daytime TV talker she created in 1997, is the most watched and most talked about show in its genre, which is crazy to me. I don't know anybody who watches The View, but given the amount of people that it does take to make a big audience, it's feasibly possible that you don't know if anybody watches. So, the New York Times calls it the most important political TV show in America. If so, America is in trouble because The View is the biggest source of misinformation in the country. More than 2.4 million people watch The View every single day and are less informed every single day. Again, this is an opinion piece. But this number is kind of fascinating. 2.4 million people. 2.4 million people makes it the biggest daytime talk show in the country. And also, less than 1% of the country watches it. There's 330 million people in this country, and if 2.4 million people watch this show, that means less than 1% of America watches The View, yet it is still the most viewed and most talked about, which kind of says something about the media culture in general. It goes on to say, there's one part that I do want to talk about in here that's kind of interesting. The moderators are one of the worst offenders. Whoopi Goldberg made headlines, but this last year, by declaring the Holocaust isn't about race. Her co-hosts gave her little pushback. It kind of went on. Yeah, basically, they go on and list a bunch of the problems that they have with the hosts and their talking. But this is where I think the interesting stuff is. Newsbusters Nicholas Fondacaro, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, crunched the numbers and found the show, The View, delivered 36 legal notes in 2022 alone. The list, which provided exclusively to the Post, includes apologies and clarifications on everything from claiming Ivanka Trump was at the Capitol on January 6th, which she wasn't, to complaining Russian soprano Anna Nebelko, there's no L in this, I don't know why I added an L, hadn't denounced the Ukraine war. She had, to insisting the Supreme Court Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh are credibly accused of sexual assault and sexual harassment. Notice a pattern here, says this article. There's no intelligent debate on The View. It's mostly just lefties piling onto the one quote-unquote conservative host. Just reckless lies about people on the right. 36 legal notes is a pretty dang big deal. Let's just assume, and I don't actually know this, let's assume that Whoopi gets 5 weeks of built-in vacation. That seems about average. 45 weeks then in the, 47 weeks then in the working year. That's times 5. So there's 235 shows with 36 legal notes. So 36 divided by, what did I say, 235 legal notes. About 15% of the shows involve a problem, legally speaking, which is a pretty dang big number for a show that the New York Times calls the most important political talk show in the country. But probably too far into the weeds. Bottom line here is, I don't know anybody who watches The View, yet it is still the biggest political TV show, biggest daytime talk show in America, and they are purveyors of misinformation constantly. So there is that. Let's see. Anything else in there? Nancy says 2.4 million Democrats watch. I don't know if you can make that assumption, but maybe you can. Maybe that's a very valid assumption. I want to end the week with this. I think this was kind of a funny story. Arsonists in California, I believe this is Fresno, California, but we'll see from this video. This is not political related at all. This is just kind of a fun thing to end the week because we used to have fun on Fridays, but things got so crazy that there was no time for fun Fridays. This is fun, terrifying a little bit because there are people out there in the world who do this sort of thing, but from a justice/karma perspective, this is kind of fun. Some arsonists in a city tried to burn down a building and ended up getting themselves caught on fire. I will let the broadcaster explain the situation while we watch this. And yeah, we'll discuss on this. You want to watch this. This is pretty funny. Oh, by the way, before we watch it, if you wouldn't mind, click the little like button and the little share button and let us know in the comment section what you think about Whoopi Goldberg, Joe Biden, Peter Doocy's debate with Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and her infatuation with electric school buses. Let us know in the comment section what you think about any of this today. And yeah, I usually pour through a lot of them. Anyways, watch these bozos try and set the building on fire and end up getting themselves.
Bakersfield, two people trying to set a building on fire wind up setting themselves on fire. Suspects doused a building with a liquid and then poured the liquid on the ground. At some point, one of the suspects appears to ignite a flame, but winds catch up the fire, set the other person on fire. Both people then run out of view of the camera. Firefighters were able to put the fire out in about 10 minutes.
I wonder if we're going to get taken down for having danger on this show. I can't imagine, but also who knows? It's aired on TV, so I feel like that's probably a good indication of whether or not we can show it, but I don't know. Just think this is funny. Idiots, you get what you deserve type of thing. Several people in the comment section just commenting ambiguous. Just Mike says, Joe Biden sucks. Okay, I don't disagree, but a little out of context, but also I asked for out of context. Anything within the parameters of the show today, so... let's see. That's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. Like I had mentioned a couple times, I will be at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, all of next week. We're trying to figure out the timing for this show, when we can record and shoot or just do it live, which I would love to do. But the plan is to keep doing the show through the next week. I was very adamant this previous Monday that we're going to do the show. Then it got a little wonky, and now we're trying to figure out how to do the show, just with the time change and the events and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be kind of interesting. But yeah, I will be at the World Economic Forum next week. If for some reason you don't see me at all, which I feel like is not super likely, that's what happened. I'm in Switzerland, and I'll be back the following week. But anyways, I appreciate all of you that stick around and tune in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB pretty much anywhere, and you'll be able to find me. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Getter, True Social, all of them. Yeah, you'll be able to find me. Follow me there. And that's pretty much it. We'll see you next week, providing that everything works out. And until then, have a great weekend. Go get outside and do some things. If it's not snowing where you are or raining, which I now realize I'm speaking to a very small proportion of the country, just have some fun over the weekend. See you next week. God bless America.